The numbers have been climbing month by month. Now the trickle has turned into a flood of economic hardship. And today inflation is the highest it's been in 4 decades. Rising food costs have been a major driver. Just listen to what's happened to a bag of flour.
On average, wheat is 160. It was already at about 210 before Christmas. Invasion of Ukraine, it's gone from 220 to 320. So that's been the biggest impact for us. But on top of that, you can see us behind flour bags, all made of paper, 50% increase. We've had fuel, 35% increase. And then all of that is having to be passed on to the end customer, a baker in this case.
The end customer, though, isn't just having to pay more for flour, but everything else they buy too. Inflation is now its highest since 1982, hitting 9.1%. And driving that rise, the essentials. Food went up by 8.7% over the year to May. Road fuel prices are 32.8% higher than just 12 months ago. High costs which economists say haven't even peaked yet, and pain which isn't been spread evenly. The Bank of England expects that inflation will exceed 11% in October. But the poorest households are already experiencing double-digit inflation according to the Resolution Foundation. They spend more of their incomes on the essentials, so an increase in food and fuel will have a much bigger impact. So the wealthiest households right now are experiencing inflation of just over 8.5%. The poorest are experiencing inflation of just under 10.5%. And that's now in shorts and sandals weather, let alone before energy prices go up yet again in October.
I'm very concerned about this winter because I know that all the electricity bills are going to go up even more and people are not going to be able to cope.
We used to have treats, but we've cut them out, we've cut biscuits out, you name it, we've tried to cut it all out.
For them, though, there is help on the way. Pensions will rise by almost 10% next April. Tomorrow, more rail workers will strike again over demands for wage rises to fight the cost of living crisis, which the Chancellor said isn't possible today, while defending pension hikes.
Well, it's right that we reward our hard-working public sector workers with a pay rise, but that needs to be proportionate and balanced with the need not to make the inflationary pressures worse and also to see what's affordable for the taxpayer. Now, the slight difference with pensions is pensions are not an input cost into the cost of producing goods and services we all consume, so they don't add to inflation in the same way.
Public sector workers, like teachers, say a wage increase for them won't drive up prices. And today, the National Education Union demanded a 12% increase. If you're in that middle income bracket, are you feeling significantly worse off now than you were a year ago?
Well, the key thing here is that real wages, so adjusted for the effects of inflation, they are falling. Overall, we're worse off. The key thing is that the Chancellor can decide who is made less worse off.
The Chancellor's cost of living package so far has reached £15 billion, directed at the households most in need. But while the Treasury deals with the politics of pay and pensions, the nation struggles with prices and economic pain.
Well, our economics reporter Neil MacDonald is with me now. Neil, any sign that this bad news might go away sometime soon?
I'm afraid no. So the 9.1% figure we're all talking about is inflation for consumers. We also got figures today for inflation for companies, if you like the Miller that we saw in Paul's piece. And those figures are equally startling. The price of goods when they're leaving the factory gate, they're rising at the fastest rate for 45 years. The price of the raw materials going into those factories is rising at the fastest rate on record. It seems inevitable that most of that is going to get passed on to us at some point soon.
There's always a bit of a row about pensions being protected against inflation, but especially so now, isn't there? Explain.
The controversy that's arisen here is about what's called the triple lock, which is a policy the government's committed to. And what this does is it says that the basic state pension should go up in line with inflation, earnings, or 2.5%, whichever one is the highest. And of course, right now, there's no prizes for guessing which one is the highest. It's inflation. What that means is that almost certainly next April, basic state pension will go up by about 10%. That protects pensioners from inflation. That's a guarantee that very few workers have got.
And what's the justification for it?
Well, if you go back 25 years, pensioners were more likely to be in poverty than working households. But that is starting to change. If you look here, what these two lines show you are household incomes for those of working age with children and pensioners. 25 years ago, pensioners trailing by about £3,800. That gap has shrunk dramatically. Now, that's good news. And of course, there are still some pensioners who are in poverty. But this does raise questions about how we should protect pensioners as a group going forward.
Neil MacDonald, thanks very much indeed.